Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today I'm looking at a book which is from the Child Poverty Action Group, CPAG, and it's their regular publication of many that they do in their series of publications. This one is the Student Support and Benefits Handbook for 2017 to 18. It covers England, Wales and Northern Ireland. It's now in its 14th edition and has been edited by David Malcolm, Lynne, Condell, Angela Toal and Alan Roberts. And this edition, like the previous ones, is extremely helpful for anybody involved in this particular area because obviously student support and benefits are very, very substantial issues today, with such a large number of younger people now thankfully attending higher education. It wasn't the case when I was their age, but I'm very glad to see a huge number of people now taking advantage of modern higher education facilities. Now, I've given the title of this, I spoke to Elizabeth, we review these books for one purpose only, and that is educational, to tell people about them, and so that if you've got a problem you know where to go and you've got some idea, because I'm going to show you a bit about the book, what this book is really about. So we say it's absolutely essential for all students seeking basic support and benefits information in the 21st century. That's what you're getting at a good price, in my opinion. The fact is that at the end of the day, these books should be generally available in libraries and, of course, at citizens' advice offices. Let's look at the book first of all. Here it is. It's a handbook. It's a standard format now, and it's a paperback. There's the front. There's the spine, and then on the back, you can't really make much out from the back. This book has been written in conjunction with the National Union of Students, which is very useful again because they do offer quite a lot of information, which is very helpful. You can see the area there that's blacked out a little bit, highlighted, gives you an idea of the various chapters. Let me start at the back. There is quite a detailed index at the back by page number. And then after that you see the index there itself. It tells you how to use the index, and it does have some abbreviations. Again, one of the problems which CPAG are very good at helping with is the incredible difficulty of trying to understand some of the very detailed rules, which are not acts of parliament. These are actually rules themselves about how the allowances work. And as you know, there is this ridiculous concept that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, you tell me someone who understands all of this, because none of them do. They've admitted it in the tax regime, and it's the same with these people as well. So let's get real. This book is the best thing you've got to at least help you understand how the system works. There's the front page, and even then there's a lot of dispute. That's why you need lawyers and advisors. There's the detail about the book, and then some basic biographical information about the authors and people who are very experienced, and then some acknowledgements. I'll give the lawyers as correct as it can be at 1st of September 2017. There's a contents section there, see, running all the way through. I'm recording this actually in 2018. It runs to 27 chapters in total. Then you've got 3 appendices. Do read the foreword, which helps you understand what the book is about, and then look at the actual how to use this handbook, which is directly relevant to all of CPAG publications, because it tells you basically how to get around the book and how to understand the structure of the allowances and so forth. Then you've got abbreviations, again very important. Then after that you've got the means tested benefits rates for the current year, running all the way through. Then you've got the non-means tested. Then you've got various other tables there, which are quite helpful. And then moving on, we then get into the book itself. Part 1, student support. And then you see how it's structured. There's a little index at the beginning, and you've got the chapter numbers. It's shaded at the top to tell you which chapter it is. It gives you basic information, basic facts right at the beginning. Then it runs through. And gives you quite a lot of additional information. There is not very much by way of referencing, because what you do is, with these books, the notes are actually at the back of each chapter. So you get to the end of the chapter and the notes are there. and that just assists you, and then it goes on to undergraduates and so on all the way through. And that's really how it is. You see later on in the book, you've got much more detailed sets of notes there, specific to regulations in particular. The book runs to about 330 odd pages. So what do we say? Well, we live in an age when publications from CPAG are considered with high regard from users of their prestigious handbooks covering all levels of knowledge. That's the beginner to people through to advisors in various levels. And this book is available, obviously, as I've indicated, in public libraries, and you will find it from time to time in a whole range of different locations, purely and simply because it's a book which gives you, for a reasonably small amount of money, the factual information you need, and it's not misleading, but it's also very up to date. And of course, the new handbook for the year 2017-18, which is this one, there'll be a new one coming out for 18-19, it remains the definitive up-to-date practical guide to financial support for students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and is a publication which we feel all students today should be familiar with because of the nature of what they're going through, what they're doing, and what's available to them. It's a very different era for people of my generation because we didn't have anything like this as such. We had a different system, but today you should know how to get around these the allowances, the way in which the whole system works, because we live in a much more complex society. And as before, CPAG have produced this excellent work in conjunction with the NUS, National Union of Students, to explain in detail what benefits are available at a time of constant change. We're living, of course, at the moment in a serious, very, very challenging period in our history with the withdrawal from the European Union and all of the knock-on effects which are going to affect everyone. And it's the biggest traumatic thing to face this country since the end of World War II. Now, the foreword has been written by Shakira Martin and Izzy Lenger, who have come from the NUS, and it should be your starting point right at the beginning before you read the section on how to use the handbook. Martin and Lenger say that the handbook is no silver bullet. Absolutely right. They continue with a warning that if the government seriously wishes to eradicate child poverty, education must be a priority. The reality is that higher education certainly has become more of a political priority across the party political structure, and I'm glad to see it. There are still some troglodytes around who don't think people should go to university. They're wrong, and they're in a minority, and the fact is today that is the only way you're going to understand the complexities of modern living in the first world anyway, by having a proper education and being able to express yourself and understand things in a very, very clear way. Therefore, good advice becomes critical, and no more so than in higher education itself, because in the past it was very complicated. I certainly remember the complexities of it all, and a lot of it was nonsense from start to finish by people who were administrators who really weren't very intelligent, producing things that made it more and more difficult, when in fact what we wanted is a system which was much more simple and easy to grasp. Now, issues which remain at the forefront of the action agenda include the following. This is in the book itself, and it's really the covering of the book. The following: fairer access to student support, increased capacity in the student advice sector, further development in childcare services, continued far-reaching change in some of our older and larger educational institutions, a raising of aspirations and achievement in schools in disadvantaged areas, and more resources channelled into our community support services. All of which sounds great, but let's see where the reality is, because it's always down to money. And frankly, in an era of austerity, there have been some very savage cuts in some areas. We have to live with that. I'm not making party political points here one way or the other, but the fact is that's what I have to face as an advisor and as an advocate. And I try to make the best out of it, because I can't change the system, but what I can do is make sure that we make the system work for the best, for the people concerned. That includes any client who comes along and has a problem that needs to be dealt with. So such a list, of course, doesn't therefore, I suggest, remain unattainable if the requisite will is there to deliver change, and change there must be, no doubt about it, because of what is happening in 2018 and our Brexit day in March 2019. So this handbook will give the reader some hope for the future as we continue the transition to much more widely available higher education for all towards the middle of the century, and that certainly must be the aspiration. It's not an attack on the ending of the working classes or anything like that, but it is a restructuring of what we're doing to basically deal with new systems like the internet, information technology, and the very big changes that are taking place. And we're sure that these CPAG publications and works, generally speaking, will be with us for a long time, because there's so much help, I think, for people who are in difficult circumstances, because there are, of course, no short-term solutions to anything that we're putting forward. Now, this new edition, of course, is fully updated for the academic year 17 to 18, and it contains all the current rules on student entitlements and benefits and tax credits, including universal credit, which has now come in. Now, as I said, when I actually wrote the review initially, that we were having an awful lot of problems. We still are with universal credit, but it's here to stay, I think, and we've therefore got to make the best of it. Let me conclude by saying these points. Remember that this is the current book, and there'll be a new one out later at the end of 2018 for 18-19. Now, as I say, all users of these CPAG publications will know there is a useful summary of information throughout the work. And actually, once you get used to using it, it's not a difficult book to pick up and find things from. There are detailed tables, as I've indicated, and a step-by-step guide throughout, which has been actually included by the authors to help assist with calculating benefit entitlement in the light of student income. I'm going to say one last word on that. People make mistakes on a regular basis, and they'll always try and blame someone else. The fact is they do make mistakes, so meticulous care, accuracy, and looking very carefully at what you are entitled to is the way forward, because mistakes are made. The book was published, as I've said, on the 12th of October 2017 for this current academic year, which is now coming to a close. So always make sure that you refer to the most recent edition for advice, because this one is now getting a little bit old and a new one will come out. There it is again, front, side and back, and just opening it up in the middle. Chapter 6, Vocational Courses and Other Sources of Student Support. See, straight. Well, you can see what you've got there. You've got lots of headings. You haven't got paragraph numbering as such. You've got bullet points to help you out. And as I said before, right at the back of each of the chapters you have notes. And that's really which is the cross-referencing to any specific, much more detailed information you may need. And you should be able to find most of these regulations in a big reference library. Anyway, a big thank you to the authors, David, Lynne, Angela and Alan, and everybody at CPAG. You make our lives a lot easier with these books. So a big thank you to all. Bye-bye.